Deputy Speaker, I do really unfortunately sort of want to, I've said this before in this parliament, but I want to reiterate it, and it's a very sad statement really, but a very real reality for people living in regional Australia, Speaker, and that is this government has given up and does not show any concern about regional Australia. And I can tell you from my patch and a lot of my colleagues over here on this side and this side of the parliament, with national seats and with regional Liberal seats, dominate representing regional Australia. And there's a reason for that, because the regional Australia has given up on the Labor Party and the Green and Teals independents as well, Speaker. And why do I say that? I say that for basically two major reasons. One is they demonise us. That side, inner-city elite MPs, demonise regional Australia. I'll give a whole lot of examples of that later, Deputy Speaker. And they then, of course, go over the top of that and they ignore us and they neglect us, and then in some cases even take advantage of regional Australia when it suits them. So you would think, well, why would you demonise regional Australia? And I remind this chamber, and I do it nearly every time I stand up in this place when I can, Deputy Speaker, and I want to remind the chamber again that regional Australia is responsible for over $400 billion of exports of goods and services from this country. Now, as a country, we exported last year about $60 billion worth of stuff. Now, over two-thirds of that come from, guess where? Regional Australia. So the regional Australia is the economic backbone of this country. Now, you might think, they might say thanks. You might think the inner-city elite MPs over there and the inner-city elite MPs on the crossbenches being the Teals and the Greens, member for Mayo, I'll excuse from that, but the Greens and the Teals, you might think that they might say thank you, but no, all they do is demonise it. Because one of those exports, and I'll go through a couple in a minute, but we obviously generate all the food, the farming, the agricultural sector is all in regional Australia, the mining, the coal, the iron ore, the gas, all those major exports. None of those are in the cities. None of those are coming out of inner-city Melbourne or Sydney, where a lot of city elite MPs on the other side and on the crossbenches live, Deputy Speaker. So that's the unfortunate reality. And let's go through a couple of examples. One thing we've seen, again, inner-city elite MPs, the Greens, the Teals, and in the Labor Party, one of the things I've done in this last parliament, which has devastated part of regional Australia, Deputy Speaker, is they have said, because of where they sit, in their apartment blocks, in their inner-city leafy streets, these MPs have said, we're going to ban live sheep exports from this country. Well, that was a shameful decision, Deputy Speaker. It's shameful. It's devastated a lot of communities, especially in Western Australia. But they know best. They watch the ABC, they read the Guardian newspapers, and they know what should happen or shouldn't happen with live exports in this country. They ignore the fact that we have the best animal welfare standards in that industry. They ignore the facts that those communities have done a great job at improving that export industry, because they know best, because of their lefty media and their inner-city elite opinions they're going to ban that industry. Well, I can say, I've said it before, but I can say that under a Dutton Little-Proud government, Deputy Speaker, that decision will be reversed. And that industry can breathe equally and knowing that they're generating wealth for this country and jobs for this country. It's also actually an insult, Deputy Speaker. It's an insult from them that they are saying, because what they're also saying to the importers of live exports, what they're saying to our trading partners is that product that you want to export isn't okay. That's what they're saying. So any country that imports live sheep, Leader of the Greens is saying they shouldn't demand that. They shouldn't have that. So it's an insult to a lot of countries in the Middle East, insult to our partners in Indonesia, and an insult because these people do this for a lot of different reasons that we shouldn't have judgment on, and we do it in a very humane way with some of the best standards that we could have. The other thing that they've done, again, member for Sydney, another inner-city elite MP, what has she done in this parliament? She has taken water from our farmers. She has taken water from our farmers. So she said, you're greedy, you shouldn't get as much water as you do. This water's growing our fibre, this water's growing our food, really important to a lot of our communities in the Murray-Darling Basin. But they've said, no, you shouldn't have it. You know what should happen to that water, Deputy Speaker? You know what they want to happen to that water? They want it to roll out to sea. They want to roll out to sea because they have this ideological obsession because, again, Guardian newspapers on board, ABC's on board, River Murray mouth should never be closed. OK, why should it never be closed? Oh, it's better environmentally. Before we put in a weir and lock system, before you could hold water back, that mouth used to close all the time because water used to roll out quicker. But no, inner city elite MP, Tanya Plibersek, the member for Sydney, knows better than country people, knows better than regional people, and again has demonised what we do. And this is going to kill towns and communities in that basin plan, which they don't care about. Just want to touch on two other issues, which are more state jurisdictions, but we obviously have input to it, especially fishing. But, Deputy Speaker, I don't know if you realise this, but we import, of the fish that we eat in this country, we import over 70% of it. Now, why? Why do we do that? Because fishing's bad as well. Fishing, we overfish, we do terrible things. So guess what we do? We import fish. We actually have really sustainable practice. Our fishermen know how to do this. They know the areas you don't fish when it's breeding season, or they know the parts you don't go to, because they want to be able to fish every year. And in fact, back in the 70s, the fishermen were telling the department the type of areas they shouldn't go to and when they shouldn't go to it. They were educating them about what to do. But now, no, the bureaucrats in the fisheries department, the inner city, that's terrible. Again, the ABC have told them that. Guardian tell them that. We overfish. So we get our fish now from countries that do sometimes exploit their regions because we aren't fishing places in Australia that we should. It's surrounded by water and we can't get enough fish to feed ourselves. The other one, I know the member for Gippsland, this has been very important to him and other members on this side, is hardwood timber. Again, guess what? ABC doesn't like this, Guardian don't like this, inner city elite MPs don't like this. We have a great, sustainable hardwood timber industry. And there's nothing better renewable than when you have trees grow up. Even better, if they listen to the forestry industry, even better for carbon sequestration for a new tree to grow where an old tree was because it absorbs more carbon. But again, inner city elite people know better. They know better. You know better when you're sitting in Melbourne, inner city Melbourne, what they should be doing with hardwood and where they should be doing that in country and regional areas. And the whole national park story, Deputy Speaker, I've seen that. I've seen farmland in my region turned into national park. You know what happens, Deputy Speaker, when you turn that into a national park? It becomes a weed-infested debacle and a fire tinderbox filled with weeds and feral animals. And we saw in the bushfires that, Deputy Speaker, we saw that in the bushfires, and we've seen that with bushfires and also koalas. But why don't you want to talk koala park? You know what the first thing koalas do when they turn something into a national park? Leave it. Because they can't crawl around the ground, there's too many weeds there, and they come onto farmlands. There's also a lot of sanctimony and hypocrisy on this side, on that side over there, Deputy Speaker, and the crossbenchers when I say they take advantage of regional areas, and it's especially prevalent right now with the reckless renewable policy of those opposite. Because, of course, I told a story once before in this chamber. The member for Warringah has said that six wind turbines and a hectare of solar panels wouldn't be okay in North Head, right? Wouldn't be okay in North Head because of the cultural and the historical and the significance on the environment in that region. So North Head can't take 6 wind turbines, can't take a hectare of solar panels, but you know what? They're okay. All those in the city elite MPs are okay that in regional Australia, guess what? We're going to get 60 million of them. 60 million solar panels, and that's okay, no cultural, no environmental significance of that, and about 20,000 wind turbines. And that's all fine, apparently. That's all fine for regional Australia to do that. Again, not only sanctimony and hypocrisy from them on that, Deputy Speaker. And I can say quite legitimately, they talk about the environmental damage being done with the new transmission system that is needed for their reckless renewable policy is not okay. Deputy Speaker, I'm going to run out of time, but I'm going to quickly mention some other things now about the neglect of regional areas. One of the first things this government did, health, they get up and talk about Medicare. You can't even get doctors in a lot of regional and country towns, Deputy Speaker. And one of the reasons is they changed the definition of a distribution priority area that took our doctors from regional Australia to the suburbs. That side is a disgrace to regional Australia, and so are the Teals and the Greens. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.